Deleuze and Guattari begins the book Kafka Toward a Minor Literature with a provocation. There are two ways to completely misunderstand Kafka. One is to interpret him naturally, that is, to interpret psychoanalytically through Oedipus and family drama. The other is to interpret him supernaturally, that is, to interpret theologically through guilt, transcendence, and an absent God. Both miss the essential point. Kafka's work is neither a neurotic confession nor a negative theology. It is a machine, a literary machine that produces effects, connects to social and political forces, and opens lines of escape. Kafka's work cannot be understood through traditional categories of literature, interpretation, or even authorship. Instead, we must approach it experimentally, not asking what does this mean, but how does this work? What connections does it make? What does it produce? Kafka's work is a rhizome, a network with multiple entrances, no sender, no hierarchy, no privileged point of access. One can enter anywhere, and each entrance leads to other connections, other pathways. Minor literature does not mean literature written in a minor language. It is what a minority constructs within a major language. Kafka, a Czech Jew writing in German in Prague, exemplifies this perfectly. His situation is defined by three impossibilities: the impossibility of not writing because national consciousness demands expression, the impossibility of writing in German because it is a paper language cut off from the people, and the impossibility of writing otherwise because Czech is not his language. Minor literature has three defining characteristics. First, language is affected with a high coefficient of deterritorialization. Kafka's German is not Goethe's German. It is a dry, impoverished, bureaucratic language, but Kafka pushes this poverty further, making it vibrant with new intensity. He creates an ace signifying intensive use of language where words lose their fixed meaning and become pure intensities, sounds, and cries. Gregor Samsa's voice becomes an animal whine. Josephine, the mouse, whistles without singing. The ape coughs without speaking. Language becomes a material to be worked, not a system of signification. Second, everything in minor literature is political. In major literature, individual concerns like family, marriage, and personal drama exist in a separate sphere from politics. But in minor literature, the cramped space means that every individual intrigue connects immediately to politics. The family triangle connects to bureaucratic, economic, and juridical triangles. The letter to the father is not a personal confession, but a political document that opens on to the whole history of Jewish migration, Czech German relations, and the rise of modern bureaucracy. Third, everything in minor literature takes on collective value. There is no room for individual genius or master authors. Because talent is scarce, each writer's statement becomes part of a collective enunciation. Kafka's solitude is not isolation, but a condition for expressing another possible community. Literature becomes the people's concern, a revolutionary mission to come. Kafka's genius lies in his use of language. Prague German was already deterritorialized, a minority language within German, used by a minority within that minority. Kafka pushes this deterritorialization to its absolute limit. He does not enrich the language with symbolism, honorism, or esoteric meaning. Instead, he goes in the opposite direction towards sobriety, poverty, and intensity. This is a political choice. By making German take flight on a line of escape, Kafka creates a language that is no longer representative or signifying. He kills metaphor and symbolism. The word dog does not designate an animal or metaphorically apply to something else. It becomes a sequence of intensive states, a threshold of intensity. Metamorphosis is the opposite of metaphor, not resemblance but becoming. The concept of becoming animal is crucial here. Gregor becomes a beetle, the ape becomes human, the investigator becomes a dog. These are not metaphors or symbols, they are acts of deterritorialization, movements that cross thresholds, liberate intensities, and open lines of escape. The animal is not substitute for the father or an archetype, it is a way out, a line of flight. But becoming animal has its limits. It can be recaptured, re-Oedipalized, blocked by the apple in Gregor's back or the return of the familial triangle. Kafka's work, according to Deleuze and Guattari, is composed of three interconnected components, each with its own function and danger. First, the letters. Kafka's correspondence is not separate from his work, it is an integral part of the literary machine. The letters are a diabolical pact, a vampiric device that substitutes writing for presence, distance for proximity. They create a double, the subject of enunciation who writes and the subject of the statement who moves in the world. The danger is that letters will turn back on their sender, trapping him in a trial. Second, the stories. The stories are essentially animalistic. They trace lines of escape through becoming animal, but they are caught between two poles, the animal pole, deterritorialization, and the familial pole, reterritorialization. The story ends when the line of escape reaches an impasse. Third, the novels. The novels abandon becoming animal for machinic assemblages. Here, desire connects directly to social, political, and bureaucratic machines. The trial is not about an absent God, but about the immanent machine of justice. The castle is not about transcendence, but about the contiguous segmental nature of bureaucratic power. Kafka's work is about assemblages, collective arrangements of desire, enunciation, and machines. An assemblage has two sides, a machinic assemblage of desire, that is, how things connect, function, and produce, and a collective assemblage of enunciation, that is, how statements are produced, what they do. The key insight is that desire is not lack. It is not desire for the law or desire against the law. Desire is productive, positive, and immanent. It is what makes the machine work. Justice in Kafka is not a transcendent law but desire itself, a continuum of connections and a field of eminence. This is why the trial is interminable. K does not seek acquittal, which would be a return to the law, or guilt, which would be submission to the law. He seeks unlimited postponement, a movement that keeps desire flowing, keeps connections proliferating, keeps the field of immanence open. The law is always in the office next door, always behind the door, and always displaced. This is not transcendence but contiguity, the endless adjacency of desire. Deleuze and Guattari insist that Kafka is a political writer, not because he criticizes bureaucracy or capitalism, but because he dismantles them. Kafka does not attack power, he makes it take flight. He accelerates the process of deterritorialization that are already at work in the social field. His literature is a watch that runs fast, anticipating fascism, Stalinism, and Americanism, all the diabolical powers knocking at the door. But Kafka is not a pessimist, he is a joyful writer, full of laughter and affirmation. His work shows that desire is not trapped by power, it flows through power, dismantles it, opens lines of escape. The bachelor, the animal, the child, these are figures of pure intensity. pure deterritorialization. They are not fleeing the world, they are grasping it and making it take flight. Deleuze and Guattari's Kafka is not a writer of guilt, tragedy, or interiority. He is a writer of joy, politics, and experimentation. His work shows that literature can be a revolutionary machine not by representing revolution but by producing effects, making connections, opening lines of escape. Minor literature is not a marginal phenomenon, it is a revolutionary condition for all literature. To write minor is to steal the baby from its crib, to walk the tightrope, to make language take flight. Kafka's achievement is to have created a literature that is solitary and collective, personal and political, sober and intense. His work is a rhizome, multiple entrances, no sender, endless connections. And the lesson of Deleuze and Guattari's reading is this: we should not interpret Kafka, we should experiment with him. We should not ask what he means, we should ask how he works, what he produces, what escapes he opens. In doing so, we may discover that literature is not a refuge from life, but a machine for living differently.